being able to own ourselves, bringing those that have passed back to life through means of technology that was not around when they were alive, for entertainment, education, possible political agendas that they knew nothing about, corporate greed, or just plain nostalgia, is obviously a controversial topic to say the least, but a topic that I find ever more important as time goes on, because in my opinion, there's a thin but solid line between parody and copying someone's likeness to the point that it's indistinguishable even to the person that's making it. Welcome to the talk of the real people. Now let's say that you're making a deep fake, and that deep fake is Kurt Cobain, and you grew up listening to Nirvana. Nirvana's one of your favorite bands, and you know a lot more about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana than the average person, and you will try to make the perfect replica of Kurt Cobain. But still, like any media, your biases will shine through, if that's political or religious and so on, whatever the case may be. You will then create Kurt Cobain to be the perfect version of Kurt Cobain in your eyes, what you imagine that he would act like if you met him, or the way you would want to see him portrayed. Or maybe you don't like Kurt Cobain, you're mad at him for something that he did when he was alive, and now you're gonna make him look like the worst version of him. Do you see the problem with this? Do you see how many times I had to say Kurt Cobain? Now let me tell you, within my life, this recent AI revolution of deepfakes and the fact that we've never been able to trust the internet didn't just start in the last couple years. For me, it actually started way back in 2012 with my iPhone, whatever it was, like 2 or 4 or something, and I started getting texts from people that I hadn't heard of in years, kind of like the Tony Hawk hoverboard thing. And of course, I'm talking about the Tupac hologram. I had people from high school and middle school and all these people that I'd known throughout the years telling me, I was right, Sean, I was right, and all the speculation around Tupac. But this isn't a video about Tupac. But the fact is that Tupac did emerge on a California stage with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and when I saw the video, I thought, oh my God, I mean, what kind of history would we be living in? What timeline is this that Tupac is actually alive? Like, unlike Elvis, Tupac actually came back. I read the comments and I was sort of late to the video in general. Maybe it was out for a day or two before I actually looked at it, and I very quickly realized that it was a hologram, an amazing hologram, and one of the first that I was like, oh my God, we're living in the future. 2012, I mean, the world didn't end, we have holograms. But it did trick a lot of people, and it can't help but to start to think that they kind of knew what they were doing with the whole, like, everybody thinking that Tupac's still alive. I mean, what if Elvis would have came on stage? I don't know enough about Elvis about when people would have believed that, and I can't help to think that, yeah, it was for the money. I don't know, for better or worse. Get your bag, you know what I mean? But from my recollection, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre were not necessarily the best of friends with Tupac after he died. Now, a lot of things were going on and blah, 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 and there's more to it. From an audience's point of view, it just felt a little deceptive to me. Now, at this time in 2012, California had no laws about what kind of holograms or deepfakes you could make. Despite that, they did get Tupac's mom's permission, and I guess she was quite excited. And she ran the estate and his likeness and so on. So they did do it the right way in this instance. But when I watch this clip, I can't help but have my imagination run wild once again.
Hey, yo, Pop, let these motherfuckers know what kind of party they in right now.
Knowing a little bit about the situation, just a little bit, right? And I love Snoop Dogg, I keep saying that, right? Great music. I mean, seriously, I love rap, favorite genre growing up and stuff. They were huge. But I can't think of like nefarious things of like Snoop Dogg thinking to himself, yeah, like now he'll participate. Now Suge Knight doesn't whatever, right? And we have him right where we want him. This is the Tupac I love, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's horrible thoughts, and it's probably not true, and I love Snoop Dogg. But those are the kind of things that run through my mind when I see somebody rapping like this with a hologram. And this happened years ago. Now we're talking about comedians getting ripped off, and politicians, and all these different likenesses, and the world that we're going into getting better and better at faking people's likenesses and manipulating them, and corporations owning people's likenesses. And maybe, corporations in America basically have none of the downfalls of being a citizen. You can't put a corporation in jail, right? You can fine them, but you can't put them in jail. But they're treated as citizens. And, what happens when Ronald McDonald is so real, maybe not Ronald McDonald, but somebody, imagination just, it goes insane with this kind of stuff. Now, I'm certainly not saying that it was the case in this instance. I have no idea, and in fact, I really hope not, because as previously mentioned, I'm a big fan of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, among all the other artists that are pretty much affiliated with them. I grew up on that. However, there's always been those that are willing to make a quick buck on someone else's back and work with Twitch, Kick, and streamers, basically entertaining their audiences with somebody else's video from YouTube or TikTok. And of course, whenever this topic's brought up, you have to make the distinction. There's a lot of creators that are commentary channels. Some of those creators are my favorite creators. Some of them run great channels and have great opinions, and they do add to the conversation. And in fact, they make it more likely that more people will watch the original video. Like Graham Stephan is a great example. Mutahar, Some Ordinary Gamer, one of my favorite YouTubers. And they're just laid back, chill dudes, and they commentate. But there's other people, and I don't want to name names, but they just sit there, they re-upload other people's work, and they don't really add anything. In my eyes, I mean, maybe it's transformative. I certainly don't want the law to get involved, because that would kind of hurt all of us creators. But I just think it's kind of a dick move. But that's been going on for a long, long time, and the Tupac thing was literally in 2012, over a decade ago. The world didn't end, and now, the last couple years, it's been the AI revolution. And that line of parody versus copying someone's likeness for your own personal gain has gotten thinner and thinner, and, the laws are always slower than the tech. So a lot of stuff has happened while I've been making this video, as continues to happen. Feels like back in the day with the Tupac thing, that was the first time I thought of it, is why I started there. And it just seems like it's been ramping up and ramping up. And now, since AI has taken the world by storm in the last few years, had a lot of crazy stuff happen this month, making this video take way longer because I haven't been by my computer and I haven't been with my camera. I was trying to take care of an old friend that was trying to get clean off some pretty bad stuff, and yeah, that's up in the air right now. My mom lost her best friend, so when it rains it pours, you know what I'm saying? But okay, here's the thing about the solution. You need to be born with the right of your own likeness. I believe in fair use. I also believe in copyright, both equally so. I don't think it's right to steal people's stuff, but I'd be, I love making these PNGs. You can't just sue people when they're clearly using fair use. So that needs to be defined much, much better for everybody's sake. My proposal is that maybe ChatGPT and all the other AI algorithm things has a button you press, then it shows all the credit of the inspiration that it trained its algorithms on. I think that'd be a great solution. If I died and I was some great artist and somebody asked my mom if they could create a hologram, I mean, I wouldn't care. I'd be dead. And if that got my mom a paycheck, or if that got my fans a glimpse and had a good time or whatever, I would be smiling up in heaven, or whatever you believe. But it's gotten so much more complicated in these recent years, and now there's these videos coming out with the AI videos, and people's jobs are on the line. It was all trained on our stuff. The algorithms were trained on things that you wrote on the internet, that I wrote on the internet, videos that were put on YouTube, maybe Netflix, certainly all the stuff that's ever been written to Reddit. It is all ours, and I think the solution is definitely being able to own ourselves, which is a ridiculous thing to say, because we sort of own ourselves and the government maybe owns us, and maybe that's a different concept. A book could be written. I'm sure books have been written about all that. There needs to be a catch-up in the law, if that's even possible. But even if we do solve that problem and we end up owning our own likeness and we're able to track it and credit it properly, there still becomes a problem if it ever becomes industry standard, where there's a possible future where a creative or a talented person gets to a certain level and then a corporation comes and hands them a contract. Could say no because it's industry standard. If they don't say no, they basically become blackballed, or I don't know. There's just so many problems and not very many solutions for a world where anybody can just type in a prompt and get a picture of anybody. Because even if they made it completely illegal, you know there would be a black market for fake Elvis, fake Tupac, and any other artist that you can think of. The genie is out of the box, and now it's all about how we deal with it. And I think this technology can be great, but what worries me the most is what the corporations and greedy people will do with it. But in this world of crazy technology, AI prompts, and not knowing if somebody even wrote their own scripts or made their own stuff, if they don't show their face on a channel, are they even a real person? Corporations taking advantage of artists and theft of content in all sorts of forms. There is a return to basics where there are YouTube channels that lightly edit and are very personality driven that are becoming highly successful, and tech products that are very simple and basically don't have any apps or try to emulate paper and so on. Somewhat of a lo-fi movement. For a yin, there's a yang. This video is basically just an open letter, open concept, just a ramble of some crazy guy on the internet of what I believe my worries for the future are. And when I first started thinking about that, which was the Tupac hologram. Maybe innocent, but if you don't own your own likeness, like what do you own? My next video is going to be about that lo-fi world and how people are starting to revert to older ways to combat the amount of technology. Like any other tool, technology can be used as a weapon or as a tool. Like a knife, you can cut your friend or you can cut your food. And it's on us to make the future that we want.